welcome to the Utah Puck Report. It's me, your host, your friend. It's Jay Stevens. I'm just happy to be here and to be able to talk about hockey. And we're doing what I like to call the captain's log. And last year I'd write up a little report, a little after-action review after every game, and then do a little preview for the upcoming game. And people came to me during the offseason and said, hey, those were great, but a lot of times I don't have time to read. So if you could just, talk us through them so I can listen in the car, then so here I am. I'm doing that. I'm trying to meet your demands. So first off, let's talk about the Utah Mammoth. Let's talk about the last few games. We've had a great homestand going so far. The big win over Boston the other night was huge. So Utah's now 4-2 with 3 straight wins, all of them at home. And I think it's a better start than some people are anticipating, and maybe not as great a start because everybody thought we'd beat Chicago in Chicago. So, there's some give or take there for sure. And things are starting to come together in a good way. Schmaltz is just heating up. And, man, if he could have called bank off that first goal off Cooley the other night against Boston, then he'd have another goal instead of just the assist. But we all know that was his goal. Cooley was doing exactly what he was supposed to do by standing in front, screening the goaltender. So a lot of stuff's coming together, and you're seeing super smart plays from everybody. And including if in that game-tying goal, you saw Ian Cole come down and set that pick. And those are difficult to do at all and get away with it. It's illegal unless you do it right, because you do have a right to space. And what Cole did is skated and kind of took his right to space and just left it to the point where he wasn't going to get that penalty. It could have been called, but most times if you do it the way Cole did it, you'll get away with it. And it worked out, and everybody's happy. And we're starting to see the first line clicking. Keller, Hayton, and Schmaltz, that's clicking, and that's what we wanted to see. And we're also starting to see some of that magic between Peterka, Cooley, and Gunther. So those are all positive things, and we'll get into some of the places where we need to do work. But right now, let's talk about let's hear from the captain, Clayton Keller, on how things are going with his line.
I think.
Okay, let's try that again. Let's hear from Clayton Keller.
I think I've talked about chemistry. I think is it's tough to find. In this league, and it takes time to really figure each other out, and it feels like we always know where one another's at, and I can't not say hates his name because he's such an important piece of our line and does all the little things right that the average fan would have no idea. So he's a great piece to our line as well, and I think when they're going in, it's good, and I think we had lots of chances the first couple of games, and they weren't falling for whatever reason, and that happens. That's part of the game, and you have to stay mentally strong and in it, and it's gonna turn.
Yeah, that's it. What he's talking about is what we've all been talking about, is that we're hoping for that point where it does start turning a little bit more, and we've been thinking there was going to be that chemistry. But when you start talking about the rest of the game, and special teams are such a huge part of hockey, and Utah's power play is 12%, which is, and this is going to kill you in a minute when I give you the rest of the stats, which is tied for 28th in the NHL, which means there's only 4 teams that have a worse power play than Utah right now. And when we signed Peterka, first off, I'm going to be honest, and I've said it on the show before, I had to Google Peterka. I had not watched very many Buffalo games since they got rid of, back in the day when they had Drew Stafford, and I do love watching Tage Thompson, but I mean, Buffalo's kind of seen their day. So I hadn't watched a lot of games. So looking at Peterka and then just getting super excited during preseason when you see that guy's vision, I just assumed that he'd be on PP1. And I know that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put all your top players on Power Play 1, and you've got to see what's going to happen and be strong with Power Play 2. But I've also been of the strong belief that if Power Play 1 scores a higher percentage than 12% of the time, you don't need to worry about Power Play 2. But so Power Play Unit 1, Gunther, Cooley, Schmaltz, Keller, Sergachev. It makes perfect sense to have Keller on the back. He's just truly one of the best passers in the NHL. He blows my mind. I'm sure he blows all of your minds with his vision. But then Peterka comes out and he's got similar vision, similar playmaking skills, and you just think maybe he fits in with power play one a little bit better, maybe not. We talk a lot about just waiting for things to click. I think we're getting there, but being at 12% is it's making it tough for Utah to pick up some wins. And tonight against Colorado, it's going to be a really big test. So let's talk a little bit to Gunther about trying to find space when he's on that power play. Now that everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think last year and the year before, especially, people don't really know who you are, and maybe now. They know a little bit more, so just trying to create a little more space, trying to, work on getting it off quick. I mean, the guys' sticks are always right there, and they made a nice play on one on the power play too, but just try to get it off.
Yeah, so definitely people are coming to him now. They know he's got that wicked shot, but man, if you had him on the left and you had Peterka on the right and you had Hayton and Schmaltz in the middle and just rotating through or something, I just think that'd be a magic combination, but what do I know? I'm just a fireman, right? I know that Bear's going to figure this out, and I think pretty soon that power play will start clicking. Hopefully tonight against the Colorado Avalanche, who also come into town with a 3-game winning streak, and they're undefeated in regulation, 5-0-1 coming into Utah, and they're stacked. They got McKinnon and Nichus and Landeskog, and where do we stop, right? Like, you could just name the whole roster. They're basically all stars. They really figured out what they've got going on in net, and Colorado is going to be hard to defend. But the crazy thing about this is, guess who Utah is tied with for having the 28th worst power play in the NHL, and it's Colorado. So that stat kind of blew my mind. You'd figure Colorado would be just at the top, right? The speed they have with Makar on back and McKinnon up front, it seems like they're spoiled with riches, and yet they're in the same spot as Utah. So that gives you a little bit of hope. It says, hey, sometimes power plays don't click right off the bat at the beginning of the season. But today at practice, John Marino talked a little bit about what it was going to be like trying to defend against and play against the Colorado Avalanche.
Let's talk about Colorado. This is a team that you're facing again this season. From that first game, what were the biggest takeaways that you guys observed as a group about what you all need to do to be dominant in that performance?
Yeah, I think obviously they have a lot of dangerous players out there that we have to be aware of when they're on the ice. They like to play that possession style game, and they're fast and good in transition. So obviously got to limit our turnovers and be mindful of that.
Something that has been very clear is that this team has a strong defensive effort to start this season. What is contributing to that effort so far?
Yeah, I think it's just a full team effort out there. 5 guys and the goalie working together. Whether it's on the breakouts, communicating, or the forwards tracking back for us, helping us out. So it's just basically everyone together, working as one.
What are you seeing about this group's physicality and commitment to blocking shots, throwing hits?
Yeah, for sure. I think we stepped that up since last year. Everyone's doing it, whether top 6, bottom 6, or you play a lot as a day or not. Everyone's doing their part and whatever to contribute on the defensive side.
This is the 4th and final game of this homestand. 3-0 to start this homestand so far. What's the feeling around the room, knowing that you guys are so successful at home just to start this year?
Yeah, I think it's exciting. How you want to start out the season. Come out strong, especially with the home crowd and everything like that. Helps us feed off their energy. So it's been great so far, and hopefully we can keep it going.
And one last one, the game hat that's been going around after games, to see so many deserving guys have the opportunity to win it. What's it like as a teammate to see these guys be celebrated for their individual efforts?
Yeah, of course. As they should. Guys have stepped up, and they deserve to wear the big hat. If they earn it that night.
All right, that's all we need. Thank you.
So the likes of Sergachev, Simashev, Schmidt, Marino, Cole, Mata, those guys are going to have their hands full tonight. But it's something that this is a great measuring stick for Utah to figure out where they are, where they need to be. Colorado's been through, with Landeskog's 2-year injury and all the other stuff they've had to go through. It took them a while to get to where they're at. So this is a good measuring stick for Utah to look and say, all right, they did it. They built this kind of the same way, picked up a couple big trades along the way, had some drama along the way. And now they're at a spot where, again, they're favored to win the Stanley Cup. They're one of the top 4 teams favored to win the Stanley Cup. And they come into Utah hot, and it just makes you wonder, how do you prepare for this, and what does the coach have to say about what's going to happen tonight?
Good. Same lineup, no change except veg in between the pipe, and same old, same old.
This is an opportunity to play a team you played just a few days ago practically at this point. What's the biggest lessons you learned about your team in that first game?
Well, I thought we played really well. I think it was a good game. I think we forced them to some turnovers. I know they will be prepared for that, so no, that will be a little bit of a different game. I think it's a team who has a really good pace. They have a lot of speed. They like possession, those kind of thing. But we have to do what we have to do, which is putting a lot of pressure, winning our battles, protecting the inside. Those kind of thing will lead our success.
What's the keys to defending players like Nate McKinnon, Mari Natchez, who are off to hot starts this season?
And they play with McCarr, so they make sure they match him. So it's all about time and space and speed. Get in their ice early and make sure we have a lot of structure. I think they feed off transition a lot, and when they can get going and gather their speed from there, they're tough. They're tough to spot to slow down. They feed the slot a lot. So it's all about managing the puck, getting above them, being physical with them, cutting their time and space, and playing with the puck as much as possible. So that's a good recipe.
Top line has been producing a lot of goals over the last few games. We talked a lot about Schmaltz and Keller post game. I'm curious, what does Barrett Hayton add to those two?
I think he's exactly what the doctor prescribed for that line. He drives the net really hard. He has a net presence. He's really good on the forecheck, really good on the draws, really good on the D-zone situation. He has a great awareness. His reload is great. He's a good all-around player, so I think he's exactly the kind of a mix you want to have on the line. I think he's what complete the line really well. I think if you look at individually, those 3 guys, they have quality who mix really well together.
2 game winners for Dylan Gunther already this season. Is he kind of a go-to guy where you feel comfortable if you need a goal, you can go to him and count on him for that goal?
I feel comfortable in any situation. If we protect the lead, if we need a goal, if it's a tie game, I think he's a good all-around player who has a lot of speed and a really good brain.
Announcement this morning that Jazz are moving their practice facility next door. What does that do for you guys with the hockey team, kind of the chance to maybe collaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I think we always communicate with them, and I think we like each other as an organization, or with Coach Hardy and stuff like that. But I think it will be an opportunity to get even closer and maybe have the opportunity to share some views and stuff like that. Not obviously not on the tactic, but more on culture and how we run our thing, and on as well all the technology, the high performance, and the medical part and everything. I think that will be a plus.
What are some of those takeaways that maybe you've learned from Will Hardy, or just being with kind of near basketball in general?
Well, it's more about how their culture is versus how our culture is, and what's the ups and downs and stuff like that. I think I'm interesting. I already talk about seeing how they organize their day, how they organize their practice, how they work on their tactic versus individual skills and stuff like that. That will be interesting to share vision.
Things are going well. You win 3 in a row, but the players I just talked to in the locker room all said we can do better.
Yep.
Is that a good attitude to have while they're winning games, to know they can improve?
Yeah, and that's for me, it's part of the growth, the maturity of our team. I would talk about it after the last game. 2-2 after 2, it was just business as usual. It was not hey, we dominate, we didn't score, we're 2-2, we cannot lose that game. That was none of that. That was 20-minute game, we're in good shape, we're playing well, we're good. And we went in the third period and we got 3 shots. So I like the mindset of our guys in that. So it's the same thing for schedule moving ahead. Okay. Whatever is the opponent, whatever is the game yesterday or the last week, We have a game today. We're ready. We know what we have to do. And I agree with the player. We have a lot of growth still. I just had a conversation with Alex Kerfoot. We were just talking and just saying, hey, what do you think of the play and everything? And we're talking about where we think there's still growth in our cohesion as a team and our structure in all three zones. I repeat myself, but it's a race for improvement. That's what 82 is. 82 games, it's a race for improvement. We need to improve more than the other teams.
With the addition of Peterka to that Cooley line, is it too early to, for lack of a better word, see an identity forming with the three of them?
Yeah, it is too early. I think, I mentioned that I really like the third period of JJ last game. I think he really stepped up. And I think we need consistency on that line to know exactly what exactly is their identity and their upside. I already have a really high trust in Cools and Gunner and JJ. Starting Colorado, play them against the top line right from the get-go. So, and them and Schmaltzy. So I have trust. I have a high trust in Cools, what he can do both sides of the puck. But still, their game, we were talking about their growth in our game. Their line has a lot of growth ahead of them still. I think they're still looking for their identity and the consistency. But I think they're already playing good hockey. But I can see even more upside.
You just mentioned Kerf there. Any idea how close he is to coming back?
No clue. I know he's not close.
Would your team have a better chance at beating the Jazz in a game of basketball, or would the Jazz?
Okay, so we don't need to hear about the Jazz question there. But as we move forward here, the things I take away from what the coach had to say today after practice is talking about, we can do better. We keep growing, and the players know that, and the players are willing to keep working. And that's just a sign of, that hunger to grow and learn every day. And it has to be more than just something you say. And I think we're seeing it from the Utah Mammoth every day. And the tight game thing, showing that maturity with these 1-goal wins and these empty netters, that amazing empty netter by Stenlund. I wanted to ask him about his geometry and trigonometry or whatever, on how he figured out how to bank that one off his own wall. Like that's a mid-board in your own zone to get that to go all the way down for the empty netter. That was pretty impressive. But to see the team come together, and you saw, I couldn't tell at first who scored that goal because you had him and you had Krause right there at the same time ready to clear that puck. So that's just impressive to me that the teams come together and they're showing maturity in those really intense in those intense situations like we saw in the Boston game too. So the team's growing, they're getting better. Big game tonight, big measuring stick tonight, and then off to St. Louis, Minnesota, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. So talk about measuring sticks. There's a bunch of them coming up because Edmonton's just keeps getting better, and Winnipeg's still in this thing. They haven't made it to the Stanley Cup final, but they're still in this thing. So big stuff coming up. Hey, let me know how you like this version of the captain's log, as we call it, because for those that don't know, I'm a captain with the fire department. That's why we thought it would be cute to call it the captain's log. But if it's not as cute on the radio, just let me know. Give me some comments. Send me some DMs, whatever. We got some good stuff coming up. Also, this is coming up really soon. We're going to give away tickets to come join me in a fully catered suite. Food, drinks, everything will be taken care of, and you're going to come watch. We've got a couple suites coming up. LA Kings, I believe Carolina, possibly Chicago Blackhawks games, and I'll have one of those big suites where we can hang out, watch hockey, have some great Delta Center food and snacks and drinks, and just get to be friends. So watch for that. That's coming up too. Also, the Utah Grizzlies with their homestand, or their first home opener of the final hunt. Heartbreaking that it's their last season. But they open this Saturday night at the Maverick Center, and I will be e-bugging for the Idaho Steelheads. So back to kind of where it all started for me, and I think it's going to be emotional. I think it's going to be emotional for everybody. So hoping to see you all there. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. This was the Captain's Log, the Utah Puck Report, and we'll see you in a couple days.